Happy New Year, everyone. Today I want to talk about what to expect from Architect Fitness in 2018, as well as get you guys up to date on some things that are going on with me personally. Unfortunately, being that we are a small business with a small staff, sometimes when things are going on with me, it will affect what's happening at the gym. As some of you know, I've been having some complications with my heart, and I want to get everyone caught up on what the status with that is, as well as fill in some of the newer people about what that even means. What happened was I had a pacemaker put in, and the reason for that was that 5 years ago I had a procedure called an ablation to correct a condition I was born with called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. Unfortunately, during that procedure, the natural rhythm of my heart was damaged, and over the next 4 years, my heartbeat started getting slower and slower until last year or late 2016 when I started to feel like I was going to pass out, I had dizzy spells, and so the doctors told me I had to have a pacemaker put in. Everything seemed to be going great after the pacemaker went in until recently when I started having a lot of fatigue. I was getting very lightheaded when I would stand up and a few other small symptoms, and I went to my doctor and they did what's called an echocardiogram, which looks at the function of your heart, and the strength of my heart has been significantly diminished. There's 4 chambers of the heart. The top chambers are called the atrium and the bottom chambers are the ventricle. You have what's called the sinus node, which creates the impulse for your heart to beat, and then the AV node, which is the bridge between the atrium and the ventricles. Something is wrong with my heart where every time my heart creates a beat with the sinus node, it doesn't always get to that AV node and it doesn't always get dispersed to the bottom of my heart. So the top part of my heart, the atrium, actually beats totally normally, and it's just the ventricles that need to get that impulse to beat that they're missing. With a traditional dual lead pacemaker, as they're called, there's 2 wires placed in your heart, one in your right atrium and one in your right ventricle. And if your sinus node wasn't working, there'd be no beats. Nothing would be telling your heart to beat. In that case, the atrial lead of the pacemaker would create the beat, and then the beat would go from the atrium into the AV node and then down to the ventricle, so the rest of your heart would beat completely normally. My condition's a little bit different. I have an AV block, so not all those beats are getting to the ventricles. So the sinus node is working, and then the atrium is beating on its own, and my ventricle lead is firing to fill in that bottom part of the heartbeat. Unfortunately, what's been discovered recently is that having that right ventricle lead do most of the pacing in the ventricles can actually weaken the heart. So normally your left and right ventricle contract at the exact same time, but because the pulse is coming from my right ventricle from the pacemaker, there's a slight delay before that pulse gets to the left ventricle. And that delay creates desynchronization, and that can weaken the heart. The strength of your heart, as I mentioned before, is measured by an echocardiogram. During the echocardiogram, they look at your ejection fraction. There's a big pool of blood in that left ventricle, and when your left ventricle contracts and ejects that blood out into your body, anywhere from 50 to 70% of the total volume of blood in the left ventricle should be ejected. When I had the pacemaker put in, they did an echo before. My ejection fraction was 65%, so right at the top end of normal range. And when I had it tested the other day, it's down to about 35-40%. So it's almost been cut in half, which is why I don't feel great, because not all of the blood is being pushed out of my heart into my body to perfuse my brain and all my other organs and all this other stuff. They have to rule out a bunch of other potential causes before they can just throw a new $50,000 pacemaker in me. So that means I'm having a lot of tests done, and because of some of these tests are so specialized, a lot of them can't be done at my regular doctor's office at the hospital in Manchester, so I have to travel around. And when they say, hey, you have to be here for this appointment, I can't say no, I have to go. And being that we are a smaller staff, sometimes that will cut into coaching hours, which I really hate to do, but if I croak, there will be no coaching hours at all. So trying to avoid that as best I can. So it does look like at this point, I will be getting a new pacemaker. I will know probably for sure by the end of this week. If that does happen, what that will mean is I'll have about a whole week where I can't work at all. And then I'll have a 6 to 8 week recovery time where I can't do much with my left arm because I need to let the leads of the pacemaker scar down and settle. So that'll really hamper my ability to demonstrate exercises and spot people on lifts and things like that. So I really appreciate your guys' patience during this time. I'm gonna keep all of you updated as best I can. When I know, I'll make sure everybody else knows. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have a better timeline for everybody. Last year when I had the pacemaker went in, I went through that same kind of recovery time and everyone was super supportive, which I really appreciate. And everyone wanted to know, is there anything they can do to help? Yes, there are definitely some things you can do, and here they are. Number one, come into the gym and work out, be consistent. There's a reason why I do this job. There's a reason why I open the gym, and that's because I love helping people and I love seeing people succeed and make positive change in their life. And you know, having a gym full of people doing just that, super motivating for me. It's gonna help me get back on my feet as soon as I can. The other thing, if you're more experienced and you see somebody struggling with something and they're newer, please, you know, help them out if the coaches aren't around. If you are newer, don't be afraid to ask questions. We have an awesome community and everyone's always willing to help out. Last but not least, just try to be patient. I know you guys pay a lot of money to train with us, and I truly believe that service that we provide is worth it, but it does really stink when we have to cut back on that a little bit sometimes. On a more positive note, moving into 2018, once we kind of overcome some of these hurdles right in front of us, I do hope to add some more staff and expand the coaching hours. Of course, that entails finding the right candidate and getting them trained up. And also there's a lot of other little things I want to do, clinics and seminars and additional services, but I can't give you guys too much info on that right now just because the timing of all that will depend on, unfortunately, what's going on with my health. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. We are absolutely 100% here for you, and I want to make 2018 the best year yet for Architect. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the gym soon.